Welcome to Brand Bites, the podcast that brings you bite-sized insights into groundbreaking innovations all the way to the latest gadgets. I'm your host, Tom, and the main topics today we're going to cover are crab shell in your phone, Model 3 was hacked twice, and Twitter has a new value. Now, let's kick things off with our first topic. So, crabs in your phone. Crab shell, it turns out, is going to possibly be in your camera on your phone. It's a bioplastic. Apparently they can turn crab shell into a bioplastic called chitosan, I think. I don't know. Might be butchering that. Chitosan is the name of the part of the crab that they're using. It's part of the shell. But what it'll be used is as diffraction gratings. So diffraction gratings split light into its components. So if you have green, for instance, it'll split that into its blue and yellow, so on and so forth, so that the camera can understand what it's seeing. Now, it works just as good as the current ones do, which are made out of silicone, but this is way better environmentally in terms of just the waste product. It's fully biodegradable, it's much cheaper actually, and it uses up more of a crab. So when we make crabs for seafood, we still can use the shell for something. Just gives us more ways to use and deal with these different items, products, these different elements of sea life. It'd be cool to see more of this. If they can do, I don't know if there's an animal they can use for like glass on a phone, or I don't know. This is just cool tech to see where they're using crab shell, which is normally a waste of crabs, and turning it into a plastic they can use for everything else. Which makes you wonder, is this something they can use in replacement of plastic bags or anything else like that? I mean, it's hard to say, but it'd be cool to see if, at some point, maybe that does end up happening. Next up, we have free data backups on YouTube. Now, YouTuber Histine Dwarf, I believe, Histine Dwarf, that might be the better way to say that, created an infinite storage glitch, which turns your zip files into video. To us, it's just going to look like monochromatic noise, like when you would look at a normal TV screen and you see the black and white noise with the zzz in the background. That's pretty much what it looks like. But this is taking your zip file, converting it into that noise, and then since you can upload, it's limited if you're a new YouTube account, it's limited how long and how much you can upload to YouTube, but you can still do it, and it's free to upload to YouTube. And then the biggest deal here is he figured out a way to do this without it getting overly compressed to lose the data. And then you're able to just download that file later on and decode it and use that. Which takes a lot more work on your end to store things, but it's a cool way to store things nonetheless. I mean, if you can't afford the $3 a month that a storage service or $1 a month for 100 gigs and you really need to upload your files some way, I guess this is an option for you. It's a interesting and or cool way to do it, although I would guess the files end up being way bigger in the end because it's all turned into video. But it's out there. I guess it's an option for some people. I don't know who, I don't know why, but it's cool to see it can be done. Next up, we have our Model 3, who was hacked twice. So, just after the Pwn to Own, is that how you say it? Hacking convention that just occurred. Hackers got into two separate Model 3s, and what I should really say is two different ways to hack a Model 3. Now, they won about $350,000 plus the car for being capable of doing this. The first way was through a talk to exploit, which is time of check to time of use. Basically, you go in there and you change a value as the car's looking for it, and you just want to beat it to double checking it, basically. And that lets you in. That's don't use that as like how it happened, but for a basic understanding, that's how it happened. The second was through the infotainment system using Bluetooth. Now, with that said, Tesla always goes there and gives their vehicles there because they want to make their cars better. So that's why there's these rewards. That's why they want people to come and hack their vehicles. It's unlikely that either of these hacks could be figured out in the time your car would be normally sitting somewhere or doing something, or if you're driving it. Most of these take slightly longer than that amount of time would allow for, but the team is there to validate and will issue over-the-air updates later on based on this. And I just have here just a prompt of, is it good that Tesla goes to these conventions? I think yes. Well, it does ask people to hack your vehicles and encourages people to do it. You're encouraging people to do it with a reward. Hopefully a reward that's worth more than what they could sell it to somebody else for. Or at least, hopefully they're good enough where they're okay enough with this reward over what somebody else would be offering them. Like the FTC, which is proposing a new rule called click to cancel. And what the point of this rule is going to be is if it takes you, say, 3 steps to sign up for a membership, then it should take you 3 steps to unsign up from that membership, and it should be easy to do, which I think we all can relate to not being able to find to cancel a membership, or it's like buried in some weird way, or you can sign up in the app, but you can't sign off from the app, and it's just, there's a lot going on with these memberships. And with everything becoming a subscription, this is more important than ever to make it easy for everybody to do it without having to worry about how they're getting there, how do you sign up, how do you cancel this membership. Canceling it's probably the bigger one, but how would this affect things? Hopefully this would be great for consumers to be more on top of subscriptions, and hopefully this will also make brands. One of the ways I could see this affecting things is brands might have to make their subscriptions more valuable so that people, when they sign up, can see, hey, this doesn't have the value I want, I'm not signing up. Or maybe it does, and you do want it. Or maybe you look at your Netflix 4K and you're like, it's not really worth 4K, I'm not paying the extra for that, and it's not that hard to quit it. This is exactly what makes something like YouTube TV so much better than normal broadcast, because it's easy to quit and easy to start up whenever you want. Unlike your normal big box companies, some companies get it right. So hopefully this enforces all of them to get it right. if it does end up going through, it'd be great to see. And believe this is our final main topic of today, but Elon Elon basically suggested that Twitter's worth less than half of what he paid for it, which is wild to think about. He said in an internal memo that it's estimated to be around 20 billion now, and he paid 44, which is much less than he bought it for. And he did say in that same memo that he sees it possibly reaching up to a 250 billion value. And that's a big jump. That's a big jump to jump all the way up to that much. I wrote a question here that I just thought was interesting to think about. Could Twitter, obviously it's not happening soon, but could Twitter possibly get to be worth as much as Tesla or even SpaceX? I mean, these are 2 Goliath companies at the top of their field. Can Elon pull another company to that height of, that's kind of the name that everyone thinks of. When you think of rocket companies, you think NASA, SpaceX, and that's pretty much it. But NASA's not even really the company. You mostly think SpaceX. When you think about electric cars, everybody thinks Tesla. You don't think of these other brands first. These are the brands you think of first. Twitter right now is arguably first for being in the news, but will it be to the point of that's kind of our expectation? I would say Facebook/Instagram is still there. But could Twitter possibly get to that height? I know I was reading about this, that they do internal stock goals, so you can earn stock as an employee, and then as the value goes up, you can make more when you sell it back with a 6-month wait time on that. So there's incentives to make it worth as much as he's hoping it'll be worth. We're just going to have to wait and see if it ever does grow or reach that amount, or does it even have that potential to get that far? Who really knows? And you might not ever know because it's a privately held company now. Unlike the privately held Pixel Stand. So the Pixel Stand is something that Google's talked about a couple times. It's supposed to come with the Pixel tablet, which is suspected to launch later this year. And we have leaked images of the stand for once. Now, according to sources, there's supposed to be 2 versions of the stand. One stand will have a speaker and one will not. So essentially, one, you'll be able to place the tablet on there. It looks like it'll magnetically hold on there. and then it has contact points, and that'll be how it acts as like a Nest Hub or a Google, smart device. You can basically, when you're not using your tablet, you just have a smart display sitting there doing its thing, which makes me wonder how great battery is really going to be. The other one's just like a normal charging stand, maybe something you'd put by your bedside at night to watch movies on, and then your tablet's just charging there. You don't have to think about it. But I think this is like a cool concept. Again, battery life. What's going to happen to that? Is there going to be a direct passage past the battery? So like it'll charge the battery to 80%, be like, okay, the alarm's at 8. We'll start charging again here, but for now we're going to passively push power through around the battery so we don't, if it sits on the charger all day blasting power into the battery, you're going to destroy that battery really quick. So hopefully that's not what it's doing. But just another great discussion question by ChatGPT here. Could builds like this help other Android tablets? And I think possibly. If Android stops trying to be the iPad, I think if they go a different route where, okay, you wanted a Google Nest Hub, right? You wanted a display, a smart home display you could put up, and sometimes you just want a tablet to do things on. This is a great middle ground. You have the smart home display, especially if it can be, maybe it's a couple $100 more, that by all means I'd be going for one of these. And you could just, Samsung could make them like this and just use the Google Assistant. Google seems more than willing to do anything with Android tablets to try and make them work. So it'd be cool to see more Android tablets like this where you're not using it. Oh, you put it on the stand here. Oh, you got to stand here. Just makes it so much more versatile than a normal tablet. And it's always charged when you go to take it off the pad, which would be cool to see. We'll have to wait and see if that's what it ends up being, but I hope that's where they go with it. Google usually goes wild ways, though, so it's hard to know for sure. Unlike Huawei, who also is going a very wild way here. Huawei's new folding phone is lighter than the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So that Huawei's Mate X3, which was just shown off, released, is extremely thin and light, and they're going back to a Samsung style folding phone. Their last couple generations have been more of the one display fold over. This is more of a book style display, if that's helpful at all. It'll have a 6.4 inch cover screen that unfolds to 7.85 inches, weighs in at a 239 grams. The Pro Max is quite literally 1 gram more at 240. And the Samsung Fold 4 is 263 grams, so quite a bit heavier than either of those devices. But the X3 matches the Galaxy the Galaxy Fold 4 in multiple respects, including its stop-free hinge, where you can basically use the phone and set it up in any direction like a laptop, and its IPX8 water resistance, which is your 1 meter water resistance at a half hour. Pretty impressive. Again, not seeing dust resistance on these devices, which, if you drop your phone in some dirty water, goodbye phone anyways. Approximately in the US, this will cost about $1,895 for the 256 gigabyte model, which is releasing in May. This is sweet. I'm excited to see. It's too bad Huawei can't operate in the US because it'd be cool to see one of these folding phones. Not that I need my phone to be lighter. The Fold 4 it's a chonk, but it's not too bad. It'd be cool to see just other options that are out there, though, and would work here. This phone will also be one of the first ones to support satellite connections, so when you don't have cell service, you can use satellites, which is also a great thing to have when you are using your phone in remote areas, which I suspect most people that are buying a folding phone probably aren't, but you have the feature, I guess. It's there if that's what you're doing with it. I suppose in some places it might be nice, but not here. But it's cool to see that these phones that are much bigger than the iPhone 14 Pro Max and offer you way more are less weight than it. Like, how long till these come down in price? If it comes down in $300 in price, that's just if it comes down $300, you're at the Pro Max. You might not be able to get as much storage as a Pro Max at that price, but you're right there. You're so close that folding phones are they're gonna get there so fast. It's gonna be so wild to see. And with that said, thanks for joining us today on Brand Bites episode. Love to hear your bits and bites down below in the comments. Leave a comment with your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe for more tech bites. And for now, disconnecting from the simulation, and I'll catch you guys in the next Brand Bites.